Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Life Vitamins video podcast. I'm so glad that you joined us tonight. For the next 1 hour, I want you to sit back, relax, get your favorite drink, and let's have a conversation. Life Vitamins video podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm glad you're here. And don't worry, the glasses are going to go. Thank you for coming. Please like and share the podcast. Like and share. You know what to do. Tag somebody and let them know we're here. Let them know we're on the air. We're going to have a conversation tonight about a few things. So let's just go ahead and get started. I've been away for a little while, a few months. But I needed to take a reset, a reevaluation, and put some things together so that we were bringing you good content. As you know, the theme of our program is to help people make life better. And we do that by making life better together. So let's get started. We're back. I'm happy to be back. We're going to be podcasting regularly, and we've got some great content coming for you. But first, let me tell you where you can find us. You can find us on YouTube at Life Vitamins. You can find me on Twitter, Life Vitamins 1. Of course, you can find us on Facebook, Life Vitamins. I'm also on Twitch at Life Vitamins. You can find me on LinkedIn at Olushoji Kolawole. And we're also on TikTok, Instagram, and Spotify. So we're kind of out there, and we're still trying to expand the platform so that we reach the widest audience. But those are the places you can find me. You can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and Spotify right now. So here we are. And I'm so glad to be here with you tonight. Let me tell you something, folks. When you're trying to do anything good, you're going to come up against challenges. It's just a given. But what you need to do is you need to refocus, reset, and just keep going. Keep going with your vision. Keep going with your dream. Because no one can do your vision or your dream better than you. All right. So we're here. We made it through the wind, the rain, the snow, the storm, trials, tribulations. We did it all. And we're here standing. So I'm thankful. I'm grateful for this opportunity to try to share with somebody, share ideas, share conversation. And my real hope is that by the end of the podcast, you will be encouraged and lifted through whatever it is that you're going through, so that you can make life better. If you notice behind me, which I'm very proud of, our new updated layout. Our new updated layout. I'm very proud of it. Put a comment. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the new backdrop. A lot of effort went into changing our setup so that we can be more presentable and do things on a more professional level. So, how you like this beautiful picture behind me? Isn't that nice? That's a DIY, by the way. I think maybe in a few weeks or so, I'll make a video about how I did it and how painstaking it was to try to learn what those professional carpet picture hangers do. You got to give them their props because it wasn't easy to get that done. So we got some new lighting going on. I received some comments about my lighting last year, so we've changed that. And I like the new setup. Let me know what you think. You can either DM me or just put your comments right into the podcast chat in the comments. So let's just talk. I'm gonna get started with you. You guys know how I do. If you watched the podcast before, I take my time. I'm not rushing. It's Friday night. We're just going to talk. Is that okay? So I want to remind you guys of something. News nowadays travels so fast that it's really hard to keep up with everything that's going on. And I just want to remind you real quick of this young lady right here. If you remember our podcast that we did last year, Sonia Massey. Keep her name in the public eye. This is the young lady that was shot down in her home over a pot of boiling water. We can't forget people who have paid the ultimate price because of the color of their skin. And we have to, if we speak up, change will come. But we got to keep speaking up. I said it before in the last podcast. Look at this beautiful African queen. And she was tragically shot down in her own home. And it's a reminder to to all of us. It should be a reminder to all of us that when we leave our homes and we're in public spaces, we need to make sure that we're aware of what's going on around us. It doesn't help you in a situation when you're violated in your own home. I'm not saying that. What I am saying, though, is we do need to have the conversation again with our young people, with our sons and our daughters, that when you are out in public in America, there's some things you need to be aware of. One of the best things you can do for your child is make them aware of what they need to be aware of, especially our young black men. As we know, this weekend is a big holiday weekend coming up, where we will be honoring this great man right here. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. an absolute giant who we must never forget. So I don't know what you're doing this weekend, whether you're going to a service or a program, but whatever it is that's going on in your community, make sure you make the effort to get out there and be a part of it on this great holiday that we take to commemorate and remember the life of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. What an awesome man to history. What an awesome man to America. What an awesome man to every black person, and not necessarily black, any person of color, and not necessarily any person of color. Also, any person of economic on the lower economic realm of America. This man's life has helped you. So it just doesn't need to be a church full of one type of person honoring Dr. King. It needs to be a whole multicultural effort honoring the life and legacy of this great man. So make sure we do that. I'm going to be on Monday for a podcast that I'm putting together in honor of Dr. King. So I'm glad you're here, and I hope that you're glad you're here. It's Friday, and I hope that your day was great. Not only your day, I hope your week was great. I hope it was fantastic. And if it wasn't, there's always tomorrow. Make tomorrow great. Make tomorrow fantastic. Just make tomorrow better than today. Life Vitamins, helping people make life better, and we do that by making life better together. You know, it's tax season. Are you ready to do your taxes? Have you filed your taxes? I'd be interested in if you leave a comment about who you use. Do you do your taxes yourself? How do you feel about when it's tax time? Or are you nervous? Are you excited? When it's time to do your taxes. And every person should know something about the tax law, so that when you take your tax forms to whoever it is that's doing your taxes, you can ask questions. It may be something that even the best tax preparer may miss, but if you bring up the question, you raise the question, then you might get a little more than what you thought you might get, or pay a little less than what you thought you might have to pay. So tax time for me is always interesting, but we always manage to get it done. So enjoy your tax season. You have until April 15th to get it done. It's something we have to do. We have to pay taxes. So let's make sure we get out there and get that stuff done. There was a young man, I read a story, I don't know too much about the story, but there was a young man that was another African-American young man, 16 years old, that was shot down in his home. His name is Randall, I so apologize, his name is Randall A.D.J. Ahim. I believe that's his last name, but if you look up Alabama, 16-year-old, shot in his own home, you can read the story. Apparently what happened was there was a no-knock warrant executed in Alabama, in a city in Alabama. They executed the warrant at 5:30 in the morning, and within 11 seconds of them entering the home, a 16-year-old young man lost his life. I think we just need to watch that story, get all the details. Again, I'm stressing, fathers, pull your sons aside, talk to them, tell them what they're up against. And it's not about trying to make them feel fearful or be afraid to live in the world. It's simply making our young boys and girls aware of what they have to face when they go in the world. That's one of the best gifts you can give them. And then the expectation is there that when they get in the world, they do according to your instruction. Okay? It's very important. It could save their life. So I'll leave that. I'll leave that there. One other thing. I was in Walmart today, and I went to Walmart to get lunch. And the funniest thing happened. I strolled through a couple of the aisles, and I said, I picked up a couple things off the shelf, and I wondered, I don't know what made me wonder. I have no idea. I turned it over and I saw Made in China. Oh, I know what it was. I was walking through, I was going through Walmart, and I kept bumping into those blasted blue carts that are all over Walmart. Now, I used to really like going to the big box store. I did. I liked it. I would go there, and that would be my time away. Like I could spend 2 hours in there easily, just walking around, looking at things, looking at the merchandise, looking at the pricing, seeing what I like, what I didn't like, etc. Now, I'm not so sure that I like it so much because every time I turn around down the aisle, I'm bumping into one of those blue carts. You know the blue carts I'm talking about? Those carts where they fill it up with stuff and I think they take it outside or something like that. Walmart didn't used to be like that. Let me stop saying their name. Big box stores didn't used to be like that, where, you almost get run over by these things, and I don't move slow, but I don't move as fast as I used to when I'm in the store. And sometimes it's hard to get out of the way of those things when they turn down the aisle and you see this big blue, look like a big blue tractor trailer coming down the aisle. So that kind of irked me a little bit. I had something in my hand and I saw Made in China. And it I'll be honest, it triggered me. I did. I picked up the next item. It said Made in Cambodia. I went on, I said, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to upset myself. All right. But what I am going to do is I'm going to get an answer to this question that's in my mind right now. How much of this stuff that I'm looking at that I could potentially buy is not made in America? So what I did was I said, I'm going to walk through here and I'm going to pick up 10 things. I don't remember exactly what it was I picked up. I just said I'm going to randomly walk through here and pick up 10 items and I'm going to look to see where they were made. 10 out of 10 that I picked up was made in China, made in Vietnam, made in Cambodia, or made in India. The only thing that I put my hands on, the 11th item that was made in America, was the sandwich that I went there for lunch. So, something's not right. Okay? What am I saying? I'm simply telling you that when you can walk through a major department store, and I'll be going through other stores, and 100% of the items that you put your hand on, it could be a broom, could be a dustpan, it could be a clock, it could be a curtain, it could be anything. So all of these different things that I named off that you would put your hands on is a different type of manufacturing. There's a different type of engineering that goes into producing these different types of products. So if we have all of these different products, nothing 100% made overseas, then we can't fall for the argument that somebody else is coming to America to take our jobs. We need to just stop. Okay? No one, trust me. You don't have to trust me. I don't really like saying that. That's just a emphatic statement that I make. You don't really have to trust me on it. You can check it out for yourself. But no one is coming to this country to take an American job. What's happening is American jobs are being sent overseas. Because if you take all 10 of those different products that are in the store, that we all have in our homes, the technology that made that product is all different in some way. It takes a different skill set to make a clock than it takes to make a blanket or to make a curtain. So all of those different skill sets are made overseas. What am I saying? I'm simply saying, let's stop fighting each other as if we are the enemy to one another. It's not true. It is 100% not true. I told you, I went through the big box store, and I'll no longer call the name, and I put my hand on 10 items to see where they were made, and 100% of the items were made in another country. So that's why we don't have jobs in America. That is 100% why we don't have jobs, more jobs in America. I'm just telling you what I saw. I'm just giving you my experience as I felt it, as I experienced it, and hopefully somewhere down the line we can get together and make a statement about what is really going on with our jobs, our manufacturing, our skills. You know, if you think about it real quick, if all of our products are made, manufactured, created, designed, etc. in another country, there's absolutely no reason to teach those skills here. So what we have is, you know, at least what I think we have, what we end up with is we have a whole working class who can run cash registers. They can stock shelves. They can flag for construction. But the real skills that create the products that our money would purchase and go right back into our economy, what's happening is so insidious, man. It is ridiculous. What's happening is you go to the store, you pay your money, and then that money goes overseas. So we need to do something. I don't have all the answers about what should be done. I'm putting the information out there to make you aware of what's going on. Stop saying that your neighbor is your enemy. Your neighbor is not your enemy. It's a game that's being played. And when we wake up as a people and treat each other with respect and dignity and correct expectation, we're going to have a much better country, and we'll all be much more prosperous, because the products and the goods that we purchase in the store will be made here in America, and the money will stay in America. You heard it here first, maybe second. So join me next week. I will not announce the guests at this time. I will put out a couple of promos next week about my special guest that I'm so delighted to have come on the program. Trust me, there it is again. You don't have to trust me. Believe me that you do not want to miss my special guest next week. I've had counselors, I've had authors on the program, I've had therapists on the program. Um, we've had some really. I've had ministers, preachers on the program. Um, but this guest that I have coming next week is one of my favorites, and I will make an announcement. I'll put out a promo about who the guest is, but you don't want to miss next week's podcast. Very, very, very special guest. I'm so honored and blessed to have this guest coming on the program. So just look for it, and I'll tell you more about it real soon. All right, so there you have it. It's tax season. There was a very interesting thing that happened here in Wilkes-Barre, something that you need to be aware of all around the country because it could happen. There was a scam again at one of the big box stores, which I will be very careful not to, to say their name. I'm not going to say their name. But what happened was that somebody went in the store and put a scan. They call it a card reader or a scanner or chip reader or something at the registers. Now, first of all, the question I have to ask is, you can't get out of the store with a candy bar. Okay? Your kid can walk up to that counter and put a candy bar in their pocket, and when you go to walk out that door, you best believe somebody's coming out of that side door to get that candy bar and find out, and the police are going to be called and all that. In other words, you cannot get out of this store with anything. They have cameras everywhere. The question I have is, I was speaking to somebody this week, and I said, now, could you explain to me, it was actually an employee that worked at this big box store. So I engaged him in conversation. I said, I don't really understand how that can happen. I said, when I go in, those things are pretty big. They're pretty big. They're pretty prominent. I said, how does somebody get into a store and put something like that big and bulky over top of something that people could just have their information stolen and have their money stolen and nobody see it? I had a hard time getting my head around how that could happen. But apparently what it is there's this apparatus that they stick over top of the machine that you put your card in. And if you don't pay close attention, you won't notice the difference. And what happens is you put your card in. The minute you put your card in, this new machine has something, this attachment has something that reads all your data, gets your bank information, and then when you put in your PIN, they have total access to your bank account. Now, what happened in Wilkes-Barre was the people who had EBT cards, the people who need their money the most, had their money stolen, and when they went to purchase, they were coming up denied, declined, insufficient funds, so forth and so on. He said, that's impossible. My card was just funded like 2 days ago or a day ago, and I know I only spent X. There's no way I have insufficient funds. But what happened was, as soon as they put their card in that machine, those readers that were placed there stole their information and took their money. It also happened to people that weren't using EBT cards, regular debit cards. So you need to be aware of, pay attention when you go to the store. Before you stick your card, what I do, or at least what I did since that happened, the unfortunate thing is I saw a news story where these people can't even get their money They have to go through some adjudication process or something, but they will not. They absolutely, capital NOT, get their money until next month. So their card has been wiped out, their money is gone because of some scammer at the register, and they cannot get their money until until next month. Those are the people with the EBT cards. All right. Now the people who had their money taken out of their bank, it's up to their bank's policy of how they're going to, reimburse these people of their money that was stolen. Some people lost thousands of dollars. So when you go to the store and you put your card in that machine, put your hand on that machine and touch it. And when the lady walked over to me, I simply said to her, "Ma'am, I'm just making sure there ain't no scammer on this before I put my card in here." Now, if you don't want me to buy these things, if I can't check it or at least look at it and verify to my satisfaction that there's no scammer, there's nothing wrong with the machine, it doesn't look funny, it doesn't look overly bulky, then I'll leave this stuff right here and I'll go on somewhere else. What else you could do is, if you have access to cash, sometimes getting cash is a pain, but you could take cash and make your purchases with cash. If you have any question, go to an ATM. Even there, you have to watch for skimmers or scanners, whatever they're called. Just be careful, because you work hard for your money, and once your money's gone, it's gone. And you have to go through whatever process or whatever hardship that you have to go through to try to get your money back. So I wanted to make you aware of that as well. Be careful when you go to the store and use your card. Be careful when you go to the gas station and use your card. Be careful when you go out to eat and make sure there's no extra charges on your card. It's just the world that we live in, and you just have to be aware. All right. So hopefully that helps somebody. Like I said, we're all about helping people make life better, and we do that by making life better together. I want to move on to something else real quick here. We have been seeing the wildfires, right? Everybody has been seeing the wildfires. Everybody knows what's been happening, kind of by pictures. And what I did was, I went on the KTLA news, and what I did was I watched the KTLA news, the news in Los Angeles. It's just more detailed than what we were getting here, and at last count, I heard 31 deaths. It may be higher than that. 31 people died. Homes lost. Businesses lost. Families separated. Trauma to children. Imagine, yeah, I know you have, but imagine losing everything you have in like one single swoop. It's one thing to look at somebody else who's lost everything, but for a moment, put yourself in their shoes. That everything you own, everything, capital E underlined, double strike, double underscore, everything you own is lost, burnt. Your car, your clothes, your pictures, your home, your furniture, mementos. Some people lost pets. Everything that you have. Because if you be honest about it, most of us who are working people, there's not a whole lot extra around, outside of our homes where we live. Most of our investment is in our homes, our yards, our furniture, our carpet, our pictures, artwork, stuff like that. Recreational stuff that we might have, but it's all gone. This is what these people are facing in California. These fires is nothing short of cataclysmic. Um, in my opinion, it is definitely of biblical proportions. I know people will understand that when I say that. It is catastrophic. It's mind bending. You ever had something happen to you? It's traumatic. It's super trauma. I don't even know if that's really a thing in psychology, but it's gotta be really, really bad. Um, so what we need to do is we need to help. We need to help those people in California. You say, well, I live in Texas. I live in Detroit. I live in North Carolina. I live in Florida. I live in New Jersey. How can I help those people in Los Angeles? Anybody, not anybody, but reputable organizations, churches, charitable organizations. You can even, I won't go there, but you can even establish your own. Yeah, I'll say it this way: you can even establish your own effort to help. If you have any questions about whether or not the people are going to get the aid, or how what you can do to help them out, they need everything, absolutely everything: clothes, food, water, shoes, socks. I'll say long johns because I wear long johns. T-shirts, hats, coats, toothbrushes, toothpaste, mouthwash, drinks, watches. They need everything. Okay, so any way you can reach out and help, don't hold back. This is not something that you want to question. This is not something that you want to qualify. This is something that you want to help. And if the only way you can help is to give $5 or $10 to your local Red Cross, or directly to the Red Cross in Los Angeles, $2, $1.50 if that's all you have. You remember that woman in the Bible, which I think she had a penny, and she was up against some heavy hitters, some heavy financial hitters, and they gave their offering, and they gave their offering with pride and smiles, and and this lady came up and she gave her penny, and then Jesus looked at them and said, she gave more than all y'all, and they were insulted. What I'm saying to you is, if all you have is the dollar, send the dollar. Because our friends, our brothers and sisters who we don't even know in California, they need everything. They absolutely need everything. So amazingly, since I've been following this story, I'm going to give this next next couple of minutes, I'm going to give it 10 thens. Right. I call this one 10 thens. Say, well, why do you call it 10 thens? I'm going to call it 10 thens because 10 thens, THEN. So after all this catastrophe and all this harm that has come to these people, the loss of property, or the separation of families, all this cataclysmic trauma because of these fires. All right, here we go. Then we find out I'm giving 10 more thens. Then we find out about the ruthless antics of insurance companies canceling their homeowner policies. So get this. Your house burns down to the ground. The only thing left is ashes. You still have to pay your mortgage. And then your insurance company, who you've been paying with your mortgage, tells you they are canceling your policy. Now, how can you expect people to have faith in a system that allows that? I guess my question is, how is that even legal? Like, how do I pay you, and then you tell me I'm not allowed to take possession of the goods and services that I paid for? You know, I don't know. I don't know all the ins and outs of how insurance works, but I just don't understand how it could be legal, because the banks that are holding those mortgages, oh, you best believe the insurance companies are going to pay them. You know, you have mortgage insurance when you bought your house, so you have to have mortgage insurance because the bank holds the mortgage, and you have to have insurance in case you default. And then you also have to have property insurance on your property. Well, you got to pay for both of those. So how is it that you honor the mortgage insurance to pay the bank, but you don't honor the homeowner who experienced the loss and now must pay the mortgage of a burnt down house, and is really only left with two options: try to reestablish a new home somewhere else and pay a mortgage for ashes, or walk away from it and have your credit destroyed. Some of these people, they've been paying on their homes for 20 years, 15 years, 25 years, 30, 29 years, about to pay the house off. All of a sudden, these fires come through and burn down the house. They never missed a mortgage payment. They paid that insurance every single month for 20 years. How can the insurance company now say they're going to cancel the policy? That's what they paid for, so that if something happened, they could rebuild their homes. We need to write to our congressmen. We need to write to our senators. We need to write to whoever will listen and say that something about this has to change. Like I said, I'm no expert on insurance. I don't pretend to be. I don't really know 100% how insurance works. But I'll tell you what, I know what's happening now in California. That's not working. There's a cold snap coming to Northeast Pennsylvania. Some quick tips about saving energy. Layer your clothes. The other day, it was 18 degrees in Wilkes-Barre. And it stayed 18 degrees until about 11 o'clock in the morning. I didn't understand it. But nevertheless, I had layered up. And so when I came home, what I did was I didn't unlayer. I stayed layered up. So it enabled me to, people may not like, a whole bunch of layers when you're in the house. I don't like it. But when it was so cold, I kept my layers on, and it did help. I didn't have to turn my heat up as high. One other tip you could do is, notice where the sun comes up. And wherever the sun comes up, you can open those curtains to the sun. And then when the sun moves, close those curtains, because that sunlight will radiate heat into the room. In my dining room, it works really well around 10 o'clock, between 10 and 10:30 in the morning. That sun pops through and you just slide those curtains open. It actually, really helps to warm up that little area of the house where you may be tempted to turn the heat up higher. You can keep it down a little more, and that will save you money. One other thing that you might want to consider is investing in a mini split unit. It's one of those units that hangs on the wall. Now, if you can afford Central AC, go ahead and get that. By all means, do your thing. But, for those of us and those of you who may not be able to afford central air conditioning, what you can do is you can get one of these mini split units. They're pretty reasonable on Amazon, and then you can hire somebody to come into your home and install it for an installation fee. So you buy the unit, which hangs on the wall. You buy the condenser, which gets mounted outside your house, and get. You want to make sure you get an AC and combined heat pump. That's the deal right there. So this winter, basically the entire upstairs level of my house has been at least 90% heated by the split unit. Every once in a while, maybe 10% of the time, we have had to turn on the thermostat. So that's something you can consider as well. Like I said, they're pretty reasonable on Amazon. Uh, you can find something within your budget. You don't have to get the biggest thing. You don't have to get the highest BTUs. But what I would suggest is get the highest BTUs that your money can buy. And then you have a nice heating unit for your main area in the wintertime. And then when summer rolls around, you flip the switch and you got yourself a real nice AC unit as well. So with this cold snaps coming, you guys stay warm, be safe. There's a snowstorm coming to Wilkes-Barre. Be careful out there driving. Be careful on the roads. You know how it is. If you don't have to go out, don't be on the roads. And be safe. Stay warm. Be careful of frostbite. It can happen really, really fast. I saw somebody the other day outside shoveling snow in their t-shirt. That's not smart. Don't do that. Put your coat on and go out to shovel snow when it's cold out there like that. Here's another funny thing I want to share with y'all tonight. As I said, I'm glad to be back with the podcast. I'm keeping it, mostly light tonight. Just really warming up and, like I said, having a conversation about things that I think might help you. And if they do, leave me a comment. When you get a chance to watch the podcast. Hopefully, some of these things will help you just make life a little bit better, man. That's really all we're trying to do. I noticed something when I was getting ready for this podcast this week. I was looking at some web pages, and what I wanted was I was in a little bit of a hurry, so I wanted it to read to me. So there's something called text to speech. It's a feature in Windows that you can click on, and you right click or something like that, and it'll read the text on the page for you. And if you're multitasking, you can do text to speech, and you can listen to the web page, while you might be focusing on something else. So interestingly enough, I just had the idea. I said, I wonder if I could change the voice. Not that I didn't like the voice, I just had a question. So, could I change the voice on this? And sure enough, there was a feature in the right-hand corner where you could click the options and you could change the voice of the person who's reading to you. I said, what would be great? It would be great if I could. Let me see what is that. I like this. I like this track right here. 13 minutes. So I may rewind this, once or twice. Oh, by the way, all the music that you're hearing on the program tonight is original music created by yours truly for the Life Vitamins video podcast. We will no longer be randomly playing music. We don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get sued. I'm a musician, and I can write a little bit. I definitely can put tunes together. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to put my own music together for the podcast. So I hope you like the tracks. I hope the music accomplishes what I intended to accomplish. And I'm sort of, it's forcing me to write. It's forcing me to use a talent that I don't use that often. So I've been coming in the studio, working on tracks and working on chords and which fit the mood that I'm trying to set, which fits the atmosphere that we're trying to create here at Life Vitamin. So I really do hope that you enjoy the music. Um, but we will be playing only original music on Life Vitamins video podcast. So I also want to say, if you are a creator of music, of digital music or analog music, and you have a track that you would like to share with the podcast, and you give me permission to use it, I will listen to it and certainly will consider using it, but only with your written permission. Other than that, we'll only be playing original music on the podcast. So back to text to speech. So here I was. I said I remembered being in elementary school, and back then when I was going to school, I'm pretty sure they do it now, but at least when I was going to school, they would read to you. You'd have story time. And I had this one teacher that I really, really loved. Her name was Mrs. Ware. I was in third grade. Now, I don't think you're having story time in third grade, but nevertheless, I really, really, really loved Miss Ware. She was just, she was a jewel, a wonderful, wonderful teacher, and I believe she loved me too, with my bad self. But what I wanted to do was, I said, I wonder if I could find a voice um, that would remind me of Miss Ware, right? So what I did was I set out to go through these voices that they have in Windows, and I started looking through all the voices, and I saw folks, we got to wake up. I saw so many different nationalities. I saw so many different United States voices. And there was not one single one that could even come close to Mrs. Ware. Now, they tell us, the world tells us, it's not us and them, but sometimes we subscribe to the idea that we don't want to sound black. Oh, I know I'm hurting I'm touching something now. I already know. We don't want to sound black. We don't want to sound black in school. We don't want to sound black in the workplace. We don't want to sound black on the phone. They say, well, what is sounding black? Well, wait a minute. What is sounding Ukrainian? What is sounding Nigerian? What is sounding Japanese? What is sounding Russian? Every country, every single place in the world has a language and a dialect that has inflections. I know when I go to my grandma's house for Thanksgiving, it doesn't sound anything like when I'm in a conference room for a meeting. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm definitely not saying sound black, because that reduces the intelligence of the message. What I am saying is that in black culture, all across this country, we have grammatic inflections in our language. It's undeniable, it's unmistakable, and you're living you're living a total lie if you try to deny it. It is absolutely 100% true that a person who is black, born and raised in Boston, will have a different vocal inflection than someone who is black who is raised in North Carolina. So, what am I saying? What am I challenging? I'm going back. I got to go back to 13 minutes. That's where I want to be. What I'm saying is, what I'm saying to you is, if Microsoft Windows can spend the millions of dollars. When I was very young, I worked for AT&T for a short time, and I was involved in the very first voice sampling project that AT&T did to build its database of voice samples for voice recognition. And part of what I did in that job was listen to voice samples, clip them down to the finest point so that they could be added to the database, and AT&T could build this whole total astronomical database of the way people speak. So if you can take those, if Windows, and yes, I am calling them out. I'm sorry, I am calling them out because what I wanted to find somebody who spoke like Mrs. Ware. That's my experience. That's what I gravitated. That's what I came from. And that's in that moment, that's what I wanted to hear. It was totally incidental. I did not go to speech to text just to try to find somebody that talked black. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. What I am saying is the subject matter that I was reading, I thought of Mrs. Ware, and I just said, I wonder if I could find a voice that sounds like Mrs. Ware. And that's when I discovered there's not even one. So if you can spend the millions of dollars that it took to put all those, it's got to be over 1,000 voices in that list of sampled voices. You couldn't get 10, you couldn't get 1% from around the country that African Americans could sonically relate to. We relate to our food, which smells a certain way. We relate to the music. It sounds a certain way. I don't dance, but I guess you could tell that right off. But we dance a certain way. Our art is a certain way. And so is our vocal inflection. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. We've just been sold a bill of goods that there's something wrong with the natural inflections in our language around this country. My friends, that needs to change. So that's a really big problem to change. I'm not sure how to do that, but I'm just putting it out there. You go into your Windows and look up text. Text to speech, and look in the right hand corner, click on the options, open up that list, and if you find a voice that resembles your grandmother or your sister-in-law, you just let me know. Put it in the chat, and I'll take back everything I said. All right, and if not, then maybe at some point we can get on the ground and get some voices included that. What am I trying to say? Like, that it gives me the warm and fuzzies. I don't want to always sound like I'm in the boardroom. I don't want to always sound like I'm in another country or anything like that. Sometimes I just want to feel like I'm around the fire with my mom. Like my mom is reading something to me. Is anything wrong with that? No, there's nothing wrong with that. We need to fix that too. All right? Life vitamins, I'm trying to tell you. I'm not playing with these people. Real quick, we're going to jump on something else. Did you hug somebody today? I didn't, and I need to. The other day I was in this store and I found this this interesting, right? It's been around for years and years and years. And in there is an article. I'm gonna put it up on the screen. I'll put some of it up on the screen. I'm gonna go back again because I love this track right here. I won't go back again. I promise. It warms me so. I'm gonna bring this up so you can see this, and I'm gonna call this little segment right quick. Snug as a bug. Is that cool? Snug as a bug, and it's about hugging. I just thought it was interesting, so I'm gonna share it with you. Here's the first one. I gotta get this up to you so you can see it. Right here. Let me find that for you. Yeah, there it is. Snug as a bug. So it's all about the benefits, the beneficial aspects of hugging. Now, I'll be honest with you. The most hug that I get in a week is when I'm at church. We all get hugs at church, right? Everybody pretty much gets a hug at church. I how many more hugs during the week do we get, or do people get in general? You know, um, especially if you're. Sometimes I can be real um, aversion. I have an aversion to touch. Sometimes it just I don't know what it is. Something I need to work on in my life, to be transparent. But snug as a bug. So look at this. We wrap our arms around each other to say hello or goodbye. We embrace during times of joy and sorrow. Hugging is a universal language with many meanings, including thank you and I'm sorry. So you can say thank you. Oh, thank you, right? You hug someone. Or you say I'm sorry and you go in for the hug. It's a cultural phenomenon, they say. And there have been scientific studies that have determined just how important a hug can be to our well being. And with that, I'm going to bring up this next one. Isn't that amazing? Like, see, that's what like vitamins is all about. That's really what I'm after. I want something that if it blesses me, then I just believe it'll bless somebody else. Um, so hugging, hugs for health says there's no rules as to how long a hug should last. It comes down to what the situation calls for. Now, be careful here. I'm not telling you to go out here in the street and hug everybody you see. That's not what we're saying. Your family. And for the sake of this podcast, that's all I'm talking about. I'm talking about hugging your family. That's it. Okay. Um, if you go to a church and where hugs are acceptable and appropriate, then you can hug there. But I'm not telling nobody on this podcast to go hug anybody who you don't know, who you're not familiar with, or the person has not fully consented and is the age of consent to the hug. All right, so don't get stupid. Nevertheless, on average, a hug lasts about 3 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, and that's about it. All right. So on average, hugs last about 3 seconds, and that seems about right. That seems about right. Um, there was a study in North Carolina of a group of adults who received a hug lasting at least 20 seconds from a supportive partner prior to public prior to a public speaking event, that it showed an increased level, watch this, of oxytocin, which has been linked to reducing blood pressure and cortisol, the stress hormone. Wow. I thought that was amazing. So if you can, you know, if you have someone you can hug for 20 seconds, studies have shown that it can help reduce your blood pressure and reduce your stress hormone. That's something I got to work on because when you feel stressed and your blood pressure is up, sometimes the last thing you want to do is hug somebody. But that's what the science says. All right, so let's go on to the next one because I'm gonna be getting out of here in a minute. But isn't this interesting? Oh my goodness, hugging. Um, there's this doctor who created a device. That's what you see right here. Um, the device, to use the device, a person lies down between two padded sideboards that apply gentle pressure. It simulates a hug. It's widely employed in schools and other settings. Watch this, to help soothe people with autism. I have a family member who has autism, and I will be contacting the school to see if they have a hug machine. It's like I just thought that's amazing. So they have this machine that you get in, or at least step in, or however you position in there, and it gently squeezes you to simulate a hug, and it's proven to help soothe people with autism. Isn't that great? So, you know, if you know someone who's in school, see, this is how this all works. We make life better, and then we make life better together. If you know someone who has autism and is in school, make that phone call to that school and see if they have anything like that, which simulates a hug to help soothe a person with autism. I think that's absolutely amazing. I love it. Oh, here's the. This is. Oh, this was funny. Woo! This was funny right here. Watch. Hold on. Stay with me 1 second. This is really, really funny right here. You're gonna love it. But you know what? God does everything for a purpose, and we're gonna need this one. Watch. Look at this page. I'm gonna blow this up for you. Hopefully you can see that top page. Nope. Right there. Look at that one. I'll read it. When the calendar turns to January 21st, prepare yourself for a few extra hugs. Started in 1986 by Kevin Zaborny in Cairo, Michigan. National Hugging Day was created to promote the values and benefits directly related to love and kindness through the power of consensual hugging. Isn't that great? Y'all know what happens on January 21st, right? It'd be a great opportunity, just conceptually, for us to remember, again, hug those that are close to you. I'm going to definitely leave from this podcast and do more, try to do more hugging. I know I need my blood pressure lowered, and I need my stress hormones to stay down. I didn't even know you had that, but apparently you do. And, hugging is one way to bring it down. Oh, what is that on my television? Skip forward. That was weird. But nevertheless, hugging. Listen, this is the last segment I'm going to talk to you about for just a couple minutes, and I'm going to close the program tonight. We call this Cultivating joy. Cultivating joy. Because my hour is just about up. I have to get out of here. I hope you enjoyed the program tonight. I hope you heard something. I really do hope you heard something that was beneficial to you and allowed you to just, take steps to live life better. And with that, we're going to finish up tonight with this article. I just want to share this with you. It's called Cultivating. I wasn't able to clip any of this, but the magazine is called Finding Joy. And the article is entitled Cultivating Positivity. I like the idea that, in order to be positive, you have to cultivate it. It's not like you just wake up or jump up and all of a sudden you're excited about the world. And maybe some people are that way. I don't know. But, to find happiness in your life is something that you have to work on. And do we get it right all the time? We don't get it right all the time. I know I don't. I'll just be honest. There's a lot of times I could cultivate my world to be a lot happier. But here's some tips. Shifting your perspective. Avoid comparisons. Maintain a habit of positive self-talk can help you develop a perfectly positive mindset. So, step number one, just changing your perspective. How you can live in a constant state of positivity. How can you live in a constant state of positivity when times are tough? When you're going through, when there's this huge hurdle in front of you. The author here says, change your perspective. Shift your perspective. In other words, move your mind's eye to somewhere else. I actually like that they didn't say change your perspective, because that's not always easy to do when when you're focusing on something. Changing is not always easy. Shifting is a lot more manageable than changing, because with a few shifts, next thing you've changed positions. So you want to shift your perspective. And when you do shift your perspective, basically just how you're viewing the situation, how you're viewing things, please do not go away from here and think that this stuff is easy. This is not easy. This requires work. So you're going to have to put yourself into it. I'm going to have to put myself into it. And, it can be really, really helpful. But you shift your perspective. The author says it's a gift that you give to yourself to look at what you face differently. So you're giving yourself a gift by saying, I'm just going to look at it different. So think about gifting yourself next time you're facing something tough. There's my get out music. I got to go really fast. Do not compare. Okay? Do not compare yourself with anyone. When you compare yourself with others, we rob ourselves of the happiness that comes from embracing gratitude for the things that we do have. So you don't compare what you have to what anyone else has. You just express gratitude for what I have. I look at what I have and I say, thank you, Lord. Thank you for this. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for this person in my life. And I don't look at what other people have and wish that I had it or covet it or wonder, even to the extent of wondering what it would be like to have it. I remember sitting in a $90,000 car because I just wanted to sit in it and see what it felt like. But if I saw that same car on the street, I'm not going to be wondering about that car. I can't afford that car. That's your car. I'm not coveting what you have. I'm grateful for what I have. So do not compare. Shift your perspective. Do not compare. Finally, practice self-talk. I'll get this right here. One crucial aspect of practicing positivity is learning to identify and challenge automatic negative thoughts. They're called ants. Nobody likes ants in their house. So when you have automatic negative thoughts, because I know we all have them, right? When you have automatic negative thoughts, you got ants in the house. Nobody likes ants in the house, right? You be trying to spray and kill them and sweep them out or whatever you need to do to get them out your house. Nobody likes ants. That's what automatic thoughts that just keep coming, keep triggering, keep going on, and you can't you it's involuntary. You don't ask for it to happen. You could be doing something totally different, and then all of a sudden you have these negative thoughts that just cloud your mind. So these recurring, spontaneous, and often irrational pessimistic beliefs that can contribute to anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. These thoughts typically occur without conscious control and can be self-critical or overly negative about various aspects of life. Ants. Get the ants out of the house. Shift your perspective. Shift. Don't worry about changing. Just keep shifting and you will change. Shift your perspective. Do not compare yourself to anyone and practice positive self talk. Okay? Negative self talk might include harsh criticism of yourself. You know, the crazy thing about harsh criticism is if you were talking to someone else about what you're criticizing yourself about, you would be most likely you would be really compassionate. You'd be, I'd try to be kind and compassionate and helpful about whatever somebody's going through and not be too overly critical, about this thing. But when it comes to, yourself, sometimes you can be so overly critical of your own self. It's the ants that are in the house. Get the ants out the house. It's those automatic negative thoughts. When one comes, what I do, because it happens to us. When I find myself overthinking, I just say stop. STOP. And that puts the brakes on the ants. And then I'm free to change my thought. And that really does help a lot. Sometimes just say stop. Sometimes I have to say it out loud because it's involuntary. I didn't ask for negative thoughts to just flood my mind. It just happens sometimes. It's unconscious. But you can stop it. So you just say stop. That's what I do. And then you replace those thoughts. You shift again. That's what I do. I shift again to something else. And next thing I know, I get past it and I've changed my perspective. It's not always easy. It's not a walk in the park. Sometimes we deal with really difficult situations in our homes, in our families, on our jobs. It can be sometimes really challenging when you set in something as a feeling and an emotion to shift or to change it. You may not always see the change. It may be much easier to see a shift. So just keep shifting, keep shifting, keep shifting, and get yourself more toward positivity. So I'm going to get out of here with that tonight. I hope, like I said, I hope you guys really enjoyed the program. I really enjoyed this time with you. Thank you for tuning in. Tell somebody about the podcast. Once again, I will be back on Monday for Martin Luther King Day. And I'm going to do a short program on Monday. And I do not sponsor those ads. I'll do a short program honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And then be with me next week. You'll see the promos on Facebook. You'll see them on Instagram. I'll be putting them up. Join me next week for this interview conversation with this very special guest that I'm so happy to have come on next week. Man, listen, peace, alafia. I love you guys. And thank you for tuning to the program. Have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Get yourself rested up. Enjoy your holiday on Monday. And hopefully you're all recharged and ready to go again next week on Tuesday, doing what you have to do. Be blessed and have a wonderful, wonderful night. And I will see you guys next time on Life Vitamins. Alafia.